Good morning, good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this video. I'd like to start out by welcoming you to Precalc. My name is Mr. Hager, and what I'm going to do in the video is just kind of go through all the stuff I would have done as if you guys were here in person. Go over the syllabus, go over some of the resources that we're going to use in class, how my website works, just some of the stuff like that. Okay, so my information is up at the top. Okay, Mr. Hager, room 258. Best way to contact me is email during the day. If you call me and I'm teaching, it's hard to answer my phone. So the way I break down the course basically into three parts. So we start out with algebra, then we're going to get into trigonometry, and then we finish the year off with a mixture of topics, getting into some early calculus things. Sometimes we get into a little bit of probability, systems, depends on what we have time for. But definitely, I would say through March, we'll be covering algebra and trigonometry. So the text that we're going to use in this class will be online. I'm encouraging everybody, if you can, to use the online version. If you can't, that's okay. I do have some that you can borrow if you prefer just to have the physical copy, and you'll be able to sign out one of those texts when you're actually in class with me. So for each class, as far as bringing the text, if you have your Chromebook, that's all you really need for the text because it's going to be online. Notebook, it's up to you how you want to take notes. I do not grade notebooks. There will be a lot of notes in the class, and I encourage you to take as many or as few notes as you think you need in order to be successful. Right? It's up to you. One thing that is required, though, is a graphing calculator. And I have a few different options for how you can get one. So the one I'm going to bring up on the smartboard right now is for a Windows computer. Okay? I've installed it. So because it's something you have to install, you cannot run this particular version on a Chromebook. This can be run on a Windows computer. They have similar ones that you can install also for a Mac. If you can't install it on the computer, you can also get an app for iPhone or an app for Android. So either one of those will work. I can show you how to do the one for Android. I'm not as familiar with how to do it on the iPhone. This is free, okay, so you can get this. The app for Android can also get you set up for free. If you can't do the one on the computer, and you can't do the one on Android, you can run it on a Chromebook by going to a website. The downside of that way of doing it is you have to have the internet. So if you were trying to maybe do this on the bus and you didn't have internet, I don't think the graphing calculator is going to work by going to the website, because you won't be able to get to the website. So the website one is a little more complicated because you have to upload a file, but I can show you that if you need to. If you're going to physically buy one of these calculators, it's about $110 to $130 depending on where you get it, when you get it, you know, if it's on sale, things like that. I do have calculators you can use if you are in the classroom, but those calculators can't leave the classroom. Okay, they have to stay here. So I'll show you where those calculators are later in the video when I kind of give you a little tour of the classroom. Okay, let's see. So major assessments in the class, as far as a midterm and a final, at this point I'm not sure how those are going to work. We'll kind of just wait and see what the administration says about those, but traditionally the midterm has always been in January and the final in June. We will generally have a test every week. The day I've traditionally done it is on a Friday, so depending on the schedule and how things work out, I do like to try to test towards the end of the week, and I'd rather not test you through a shock week, meaning I don't really want to teach material on one week, then have you have a shock week, and then test you on the material that you've learned now 10 or 11 days ago. So we're going to try to do a test at the end of every week. Whether or not those tests will be in class or remote, that's going to depend on what grade you are and how the schedule is working. One thing I'm pretty sure, though, is whether or not you are in class or remote, I'm going to try to do the tests electronic. Okay, so they will be mostly online, meaning you'll need your Chromebook in order to do the test. You'll be able to use scratch paper for all your work and stuff like that, but your answers will ultimately be put in online. Let's see. So as far as missed work, if you are absent, okay, make sure you come and see me within a week of your return to school. If I don't hear from you within a week, then I assume that you're just not taking the test and it is a 0. As long as you contact me, just try to make arrangements, figure out a time to take the test. I'm usually pretty flexible. It's just when I don't hear from you and you're not communicating with me, that's when you get a 0. So if you're out, communicate with me, email me, on Zoom, whatever, just get a hold of me. All tests are announced, so I don't do any surprise tests or quizzes or anything like that. Homework is pretty much every night. Usually the day we have a test in the past, I have not given homework. So traditionally that would mean Monday through Thursday you'd have your homework, and on Friday you'd have a test. Depending on material, because it's a hybrid, that may change a little bit. It is possible you could have an assignment over shop week, but again, that'll be something we just kind of see and as we go along, because like you guys, it's new for me, so a lot of it's going to be kind of figured out as we go. Homework, you can submit one assignment late per term and it will not hurt your average. So if you turn in one late, you can still get 100 for homework. If you turn in more than one late, that's when it's going to start to hurt your homework average. But if you turn in every assignment on time, not only will you get 100 for homework, but I'll also give you some bonus points on your final average for the term. Homework, the way I check it is it's due at the beginning of class. So whether or not you are remote or in person, it will be due by the beginning of class. If you are remote, that means you're going to be turning it in electronically. And even if you are in class, I might try turning it in electronically as well. Okay, my goal this year is to pretty much minimize paperwork between us. You don't really want to have to touch stuff I'm touching, and I don't really want to touch paperwork that you guys are touching. So that's why we're going to try to do as much as we can electronically. If homework is more than 5 days late, it will not be accepted. Okay. Now, there are always extenuating circumstances. Obviously, if somebody's in the hospital or something like that for weeks and weeks, that's a totally different thing. I'm just talking about the standard. You are out, you get 5 days to make it up. And participation, I'll talk about on the next page when I go over grades. So the grading policy, you can see tests are worth 60%, homework is 30%. Coming to class on time and being prepared is 10%. That's what makes up your term grade. As far as the midterm and the final, in a full year class, traditionally those have been 5% each of your final course grade. Late work, missing work, I already talked about that. Extra credit, sometimes I'll give you a bonus problem on a test or quiz. In the past, I've also offered extra credit in the form of creating review guides or study guides after you've taken a test to kind of go back over the material and look at the problems you've had trouble with. So that's something we can talk more about after your first test if people are interested. All right, so your responsibilities. So whether you're in class or remote, I need to make sure that only one person is talking at a time. On Zoom, a little easier for me to control because I can unmute one person. But in class, one person at a time so I can understand what they're asking me. What else? Okay, trying to go to the bathroom before class, okay, between bells, that's always a good thing. This year, I know it's going to be a little bit different when you're in the building because some of the hallways are going to be one way. So it's going to take a little bit of figuring out which way to go, the best way to get to class. So the first couple weeks, obviously, that's fine. You're still figuring out best way to get here. But after that, really trying to get done what you need to before class is good. If you do need to sign out during class, that's fine. I'll show you how the sign out works in my room. I don't have a sign out book. I use a check-in, check-out system where you scan your ID and then you can go where you're going to go. And I'll show you how that works at the end of the video. Okay, make sure you're getting here again on time. I already mentioned that. Make sure that electronic devices are put away. Okay, cell phones, MP3 players, whatever you're using, make sure it's put away when you get into class and we get going. If there is something I'm going to allow you to use, I will let you know. Like if I say it's okay to use your Chromebook, you can take that out and use it, for whatever. After a test, sometimes I'll allow you to listen to music, but again, I just appreciate you ask me first, and then if it's okay, I'll let you know. So my responsibilities. So I'm going to do my best to teach each lesson. I've taught pre-cal many times here, dozens of times, but it still doesn't mean everything's going to go perfect. Especially this year being a hybrid, it's going to be different. So I'm going to do my best to try to teach each lesson. As far as graded material, I usually get that back very quick. This year, since you're going to be putting in your answers to exams online, grading should be even faster. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean once you take the test, hit submit, you're going to get your grade right away. I like to make sure everybody has taken the test first before I release the grades. At the point where nobody is allowed to make the test up anymore because enough time has passed. If people haven't made it up at that point, it'll become a 0 and I'll still release the grades, even if everyone hasn't taken it. Let's see, extra help. So traditionally in the past, my extra help day has been on Thursday. This year, extra help I know is going to be a little bit different. You have to make an appointment, I believe, but again, there'll be more details about that as the year starts. I'll also be available on Zoom during your classes. So at this point, the way I envision what's going to happen is you'll be watching most of my lessons pre-recorded online. For the past 5 years, I've been recording pretty much every lesson that I teach and putting it on YouTube. And they're all still there, okay? All 5 years worth of my lessons. So my goal is to each day have a Zoom lesson where I'm online and I'm available for help. You guys will be watching a pre-recorded Zoom lesson. That way, if somebody has a question, I don't have to stop the whole class just to answer one question. Everybody's going to be watching the YouTube video during the class time at their own pace. And if you have a question, you can pause it, hop over to the Zoom session, and ask me whatever you need to. And then I'll be able to do the problem live. If we're still hybrid, I'll be in my classroom. So I can do it on the smartboard, share my screen, and you can see it. If we are remote, then I'll figure out something with probably a document camera and a whiteboard so I can still do out problems so that you can see them. All right, but that's pretty much how I think I'm going to try to run classes. So as far as academic support, I said I'm available. We used to have after school or before school tutoring. I do not know how that's going to work this year. Also, NHS students have done a lot of tutoring in the past for my class, especially because most of the NHS students are in the honors track and have had me, so they already know the material. And sometimes just hearing it explained from a different person, is all you need. And the last thing here is just a list of topics. So those are all the different topics that we're going to cover throughout the year. Again, may change depending on the pacing, the hybrid, remote, how that all works out. Okay, next page here is just the agreement. This I will have you sign on Google Forms, so it'll be uploaded into the student learning system that I use, and you will have that form signed by you and a parent or guardian online. And it just basically says you read the syllabus and you understand what's going on. Okay, next thing I want to show you is about the audio recording. So since this is a remote or hybrid learning, all of my lessons will be recorded that I teach live. So if you are remote, you will be watching a lesson that I've already recorded. If you are in class, I'm not going to have you just sit there and watch a video I've already done. I'm going to teach. Right? I'll stand up here and teach live in front of you. But somebody may be out that day. Somebody may choose to be remote, and they're not coming in. So the lessons that I teach live will all be recorded and put online. and they'll be I'll show you how they're organized in a YouTube playlist. So this document just goes through and basically says you understand that my classes are being recorded, they're being posted online, and this will be available in Google Forms or just a Google Doc as well to take a look at. There's really nothing to sign here, just taking a look at it and reading it through. Okay, next thing. So I mentioned graphing calculators. So I have a contract that you will sign, parent or guardian will sign, and it just goes through what you're allowed to do and not do with the calculator. So basically, you're not allowed to, abuse it, write on it, take buttons off it, common sense things, right? If you damage it, pretty much you are responsible for replacing it. So you can read through all the different things you're not allowed to do with it. The biggest problem that I usually have is dropping the calculator. So it's not something that somebody does intentionally, but they leave the calculator on the edge of their desk, and they open their notebook, forget it's there, and it falls off. Well, if it falls off your desk, you are responsible for that calculator for the next 3 months. So if you drop it, say, September 1st, and it stops working October 1st, you are responsible for replacing it. Now, if you don't like that, you don't have to use one of my calculators. You can use one of the options that I will show you, which is installing it on a Windows computer, and I have a video for that, installing it on Android, which I can show you. There's the Mac options, which you'll have to read about a little more on your own. There's also running it on the website that I can show you. And the last option, the most expensive option, is to just physically have the calculator, but that's honestly probably the most convenient, just to have it in front of you. So let's see. So yeah, that'll be something that you'll sign and a parent or guardian will sign as well. All right, so some general tips, basically I call them pre-calculus survival tips. A lot of them are common sense. I'm not going to go through all of them, but a couple important ones. Not all topics are equally important. So as we go through different topics, based on what I say and how much time I spend on it, it's up to you to kind of figure out what is the most important. There's no way I can give you an exam that would cover every single thing that we're going to learn. So you have to go through and kind of differentiate. All right, he said this was important. He said don't worry about this as much. So you kind of choose where you spend your time, because you only have so much time, and this is one of 4 or 5 different classes you're taking. So you gotta budget your time. Definitely expect to be challenged on problems. If you get to the point where you're getting really frustrated, I would not spend an hour on one problem if you have 15 of them to do. Again, you just don't have the time, right? But you will be challenged on some problems, and then my goal is to help explain those problems you didn't get, either over Zoom or in class. Finding someone to teach. I find that's always a good way to make sure you really know the material, because if you can teach someone else how to do it, then you're probably feeling pretty confident with it yourself. Let's see. So taking notes, but not at the expense of listening. Since all my classes are recorded and you're watching everything, you can pause it at any time you want, or go back and once I upload the video, play it and rewatch any part of the lesson. Right? That's going to be especially important when I show you things with the graphing calculator. So you'll be able to go online and see how to press the buttons and what to do, and not have to worry about trying to write everything down really fast. Right? And the tutoring option, I already mentioned that if you do need help through tutoring, in the past I've referred people to NHS students. I don't know exactly how that's going to work this year, but it's something we can check out if you feel that that would help you as the school year starts. Okay, so just some general survival tips. Again, that'll be online as a Google Doc. And what else do I have? Okay, this one is the directions for the calculator. So I'm not going to go through this in depth because I have a video on it. But basically, it gives you a website to go to, which you will download a file. It tells you how to save it. And then once you try to extract what's in the file, it's going to ask you for a password. I will give you the password in Google Classroom or Schoology, depending on which platform I end up using. Okay, but that will be online. And the rest of the directions show you how to just open it and get it set up and running. I told you that if you use the website version, there's a file you have to upload. You can't just go to the website and the calculator works. You have to go to the website, upload a file, and then it works. This ROM file that you see me reference in these directions, that's the file that you need to make the calculator work on the website. Right? So this part of the directions for installing the calculator on a Windows computer involves creating a ROM file. That's the file that you need to get it to run on a Windows computer, but also if you want to use it on the website. Right? So I can help you with that if you need help. And again, I have a video. All right, so last thing I just want to show you is my YouTube website. So if you go to www.mathwithhager.com, and that website is on pretty much every document that I give you. So if you just go to the top of your syllabus, it's right there. And then if you go to that link, it'll take you to my YouTube channel. Okay, on YouTube, I have all my lessons organized by class in playlists. As I said, for the past 5 or 6 years, all my lessons are there. So if you scroll down, there's 2 sections here. Classes I'm currently teaching, which I need to update to this year's classes, and previous classes I have taught. So let's say you are in Precalculus Honors. If you click on that class, it'll come up with all the videos that I taught that year. Each video has the section in the book it's from, the title of the section, and the date that I taught it. So if you are learning remotely and I'm having you watch a video from the past, which are a pre-recorded video, obviously the date's not going to match up. What you're looking for there is the section. Right? You'll know the section we're covering that day, and that's what you want to look for. Okay? And I will try to make that as clear as possible when I set up your assignments for the week, okay, on my Google Classroom or Schoology. Most of my pre-cal lessons, if you're looking at this, are about 40 to 50 minutes long, 55 minutes. Very rarely do they go over an hour, but generally in the 50-minute range. So each lesson that I teach basically starts right after I go over the homework. So it starts with the notes you would be taking, and it ends with the homework assignment for that day. So let's just click on a lesson. And hopefully it will load. And let me fast forward to the end. Well, I wanted to show you one thing. So as you can see, I'm using the calculator in the lesson right here. So if I'm doing something that you're not familiar with, then you can look back and see, oh, how did he graph a line with absolute value? Where did he find the absolute value function on the calculator? You will be able to go back and see that. Okay, so now let me go back to what I was going to show you. Okay. Very end of the lesson is where I put the homework assignment. Now, I've crossed this homework assignment out. I'm guessing I probably changed it that day, or maybe I gave a take-home exam or something like that. But that's where the homework will always be, in the end of the lesson. Most homework assignments will be out of your book. Occasionally, we will have an assignment from a different book. Okay? Specifically when we get to a unit on vectors, and when we do a unit on conic sections. Okay, those 2 units I do use a different book, and then occasionally I also have worksheets. All of those will be available in Google Classroom. Okay, and that's pretty much how the videos work. So I think I went over most of the important things. What I'm going to show you next in the video is an actual kind of view of the classroom, and then how you can check in, check out, and where my graphing calculators are located. I'll also at some point show you how you can get the graphing calculator using the website option. So I will make a video for that as well. Well, again, thank you for watching the video. And I know it's going to be a little bit different this year in the hybrid learning, but my goal is to try to make everything as smooth as possible and help you the best that I can. So I wish you guys the best of luck this year, and please reach out to me if there's anything I can do to help you. All right, let's go in the classroom, room 258. So when you walk in, my desk is over here on the left. Over here on the right, that's what I was talking about in the video for the check-in, check-out system. All right, so the way that basically it works is you type in your ID number, or you can scan it. Since I don't have a student ID, I'll just type it in, and I made up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now once I type that in, it says to scan location. So what we do is we just take this wheel, and you can turn it to different locations like drink, deans, library, wherever you have to go, or other. Now, see how I waited too long to scan it? It went back to scan ID. So you have about 20 seconds. So let's say we got to go to Dean's office. So you can either scan your ID using this barcode scanner that has the red laser, or just type it in. So I'll just type it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now scan location. I'm going to put it on Dean's office. Hold it up and scan it. And it says John Smith checked out to Dean's office. Now, when you come back in, you just type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it says that you're checked back in. And that's it. So that's basically how you check in and out of the classroom. I'll also be using this system if you are borrowing a regular scientific calculator, not a graphing one, because those are already assigned by number. But if you're going to use a scientific one, those have barcodes on the back, and it's pretty much the same idea. You just scan your ID or type it in, and then there'll be a barcode just like that on the back of the calculator, and you scan it. So that's the check-in, check-out system. And then over here in the corner is where the graphing calculators are, if you'll be using those. So let's take a look at those. All right, so each graphing calculator has its own spot. So calculator number 4, if we take a look at it, look at the back, that's number 4. Okay, so each calculator, we got to make sure we put them back in the right spot. When the green light goes on the side, it means it's charging. Orange, green is fully charged, orange is charging, and they go right there. So if you are in a class that's using graphing calculators, that's where they are.